Welcome back, everybody. So today I want to talk about new workflow collection, which I've brought out called Triple Latents, which is the Trio workflow collection. Basically building on an Anke where we did 2-pass image to image to image, I decided to experiment with making an SDXL triple pass latent only. So it doesn't actually decode the image and re-encode the image. It just passes the latent through 3 K-samplers. Pretty simple stuff. Using the concept of using full denoise on each step, because usually what we would do is we would reduce the denoise on each step. But I thought, I want to know what happens if it just gets told, do it again, do it again, do it again, using the latent from the previous generation. And it does seem to increase accuracy and depth. You get a bit more detail. So let's take a quick look over here. So the first model which I released was V4, and V4 was like a prompt magic, upscaler, detailer, iterative. It's become trio magic. Okay, that's what this one has become. But you can see it made some really nice images using my Assassin Carb test Lora, which is on a previous page. And then obviously with the IP adapter style transfer, which is a new feature for SDXL in the code refactor. So let's just quickly have a look at that. So here we have SDXL. So here we have comfyui IP adapter plus. So it's a complete refactor of the code. So everything's pretty much changed. We've got a redo. So it says here, 23rd of March, 2024, previous workflows won't work. You'll have to recreate them. You've been warned. Okay, it's pretty simple, really. I'll show you how to do that as we get there. So now we've got style transfer and also composition only transfer. So I'm going to cover composition in a completely separate subfolder of the pack and a completely separate video because it's a different feature. But we're going to look at style transfer today. Because I've trained hundreds of style models, this really interests me because it essentially represents trainingless training for SDXL. So anyway, let's just jump in. Inside the pack, if I just go over to the pack section, okay, we have Trio Basic, which is the most basic triple latent with the IP adapter, okay, but it's, like I said, the most basic. Standard is more up to date because it uses a slightly more advanced, the IP adapter embeds, which is basically part of the new refactor. This still works fine, but I would recommend standard. Okay. And as we go up, they're more complex. So Trio Stack actually allows, Trio Stack allows 3 input images to be used with the style transfer. So obviously if they match, i.e. they all came from the same data set that you would use to normally train a Lora, then that's how you get your instant Lora, right? However, also then we've got Trio Magic, which uses magic prompt with auto negative prompt, my aspectsizer, and the 3 latent passes, which is what Trio is, with iterative upscaler. Now what I've done is I've only upscaled it like by 1.4 with 3 or 4 steps. So it takes about a minute, but what it does is instead of making it really big, it kind of puts a bit more detail. It adds detail depth, which is what you really want when you're trying to make a rich image. If you're trying to make a simple image, then it doesn't really, I would just back off the denoise a bit on the stages. Now, the pack actually comes with a bunch of variants. So these are like the categories, all right? So basic being the most basic, standard having the embeds feature, stack having an example of how to put multiple input images into style transfer, and then magic, which has got the auto negative prompt and everything else. Now, if you see -HD at the end, that's adding the iterative upscaler section. If you see -plus at the end, that's adding the magic prompt. So if we just quickly take a look at the actual zip, here it is. So if I just do it by name, so we've got basic, magic HD plus. I think this is the original and this is the new refactor. So this is kind of obsolete now, but it is what it is. This is the most complex one. It needs a bunch of custom nodes. Easy to get though. They're all in the comfyui manager. Stack is probably my favorite one for doing instant Loras, or you might need to add a few inputs, but it's just copy paste. Again, we're going to cover that in a bit. Stack HD Plus has obviously got the prompt magic enhancer because it just adds a few more tokens that are relevant to what you put in to fill out or pad out the token length. And then what you can get is a little bit more detail because it's pretty good. Anyway, standard is what I would build off of. If I wanted something as an example to build off of, I'd build off of standard because it's just one image input. So it's very easy to control. And then obviously standard HD comes with the upscaler, HD Plus comes with the magic prompt. We'll have a look at each of these in turn, but just to recap. So the collection is, or it's like I said, it's, what's that, 9? There's 9 in here at the moment. Future versions, what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to remove the old version as I put up the next one, because there's no point having an outdated one, and every version will contain all the workflows from the previous pack anyway. I'll probably just make this into a folder called style, and then the next one will be composition, and we'll have a whole host of them as well. See, what I try to do is give you a workflow that you can look at and go, oh yeah, I understand this. I'll just take the bit I want, or I'll build off of this to make what I want, right? So I'm demonstrating the triple latent, so 3-pass latent process here. You can put in another VAE decoder and see the previews if you want. In fact, we'll do that just for this one, just so you can see what I mean. So if I go VAE decode here, VAE decode here, because we don't need them, and then just go into a preview image, go into a preview image, and then if I just get my VAE hook up here, so there it is, and there it is. All right, so then what I'll do is I'll be getting a preview for the first latent and for the second latent, and then we'll get to have a look at the final image, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So what have we got? We've got a beautiful scenery nature glass bottle landscape. This is the test prompt for Comfy, Purple Galaxy bottle. And then I've got like this anime girl thing I got off Civit, all right, as the style transfer. So we're using RealViz XL3, we're using Plus, which is the high strength. Now, as far as I'm aware, that actually equates to Plus SDXL VitH. So you can download that. You can download that in the comfyui manager. It's inside models, all right? So all of this stuff is easy to get. I would say quickly, one thing I did have to do was go to install custom nodes. Then I had to go to installed. Then I had to type in IPadapter, and I had to uninstall it, restart, and then go back in and install it again. Because as he said, it's a complete code refactor. So what I did was I just completely removed it and started again. But the models are fine. The models don't change. It's just the nodes. All right, cool. Now I'm going to explain how all of this goes together. This probably isn't the best example we've got right now. Which one have we got? Basic. Yeah. See, basic isn't actually using the embeds. It does use the unified loader, but not the embeds. And that's actually really quite a big deal. So anyway, let's just generate the bottle. It should take some information about this. Now, there were a load of settings on these. I've got it on style transfer. Ah, yeah, the other settings are in the more. See, you don't get the settings that I'm talking about. Okay, that's all right. Now, this is based on the default workflow, so it's not optimized for SDXL. So you could improve this by having the SDXL. It'll still work, but it's not using clip G. So if I have a look at this, look, we've got clip G and we've got clip L. So sorry, I'm using clip G by default, but not clip L. If you look in the logs, you can see clip missing, clip L. And it's pretty easy to fix that, but I will address that later. So this still works fine for testing. I was just basically only using clip G. So if we look at the first image that we got out of it, it's okay, but we've got blurry details in the background. The mountains are kind of in the sky. I mean, look, it's not bad. It's not bad, but this could be better. So we go to the second step. The cork gets a little bit better. We get a bit more details in the background, a bit more detail in the background. The mountain is looking a bit more mountainous. Okay, so it's an improvement. It's sharper and there's more detail. And then finally, when we get to the third latent, it's about as crisp as it's going to get. Sometimes it does go a bit crazy with some shape like that. So if I look up here at this one, it wasn't going quite so crazy. This was behind the mountain. So it's not a perfect thing, but you've got to remember, you see, it's going overboard. If I have a look, I've got 1, 1, 1. The only thing I've made sure to do is make sure that it's using the same seed for every step, because that does matter. It can make it better to mix seeds, but can also make it worse. So I tend to just match the seeds and it's all hunky-dory. Okay. So this is style transfer. But as I said, this one isn't the one. If I go to show you the standard pack now, let's just throw this in here. There we go. If I go into the standard now and have a look at the way it's actually built, you'll see it's slightly different. So let's full screen this for a second. So as you can see, let's just do a bottle. What we've got is we've got the seed, which is currently fixed, empty latent image. I'm loading one of my Loras, but I'm not using a trigger, so it doesn't actually do anything right now. And then what we do is we take from the model on the load Lora into the IPadapter unified loader, right? And then I've selected plus high strength because that's the model I want to use. And then model goes into IPadapter embeds, all right? And then the image goes into IPadapter encoder, which is, like I said, that's a new thing, right? And the image goes in here. We get a reference from the IPadapter, go that into there as well. And then we get a positive and a negative embed. These can actually be saved and loaded, and they can be mixed too. But I'll get into that in a minute. We're not using a tension mask, and we're just using the default clip vision as far as I know, because I'm not, no example showed one being loaded. So I'm using k-mean, k plus mean v with c penalty. I did test them all. I found this one was pretty good at fine details, so I like that one. I haven't messed around with the start at, end at, or the weight. I've just left it at 1.0 and the defaults for now. There are other modes, linear, ease in, ease out. I've tested all of these, and I've got something to show you about that, but that'll be coming up later. Because again, there's much more to cover than just this. So for this, I'm going to be looking at style transfer, and next time we'll look at composition. So we're not going to look at that right now. So style transfer, right? And then the model then goes into all of the K samplers. The positive and negative prompt comes into the K samplers as you normally would. Then we chain the latent into the next each stage of the trio, and then and then that's it. Then you've made your image. Okay, so there it is. There's our if we look at the style model, the style reference, it was. So this is the style reference here, and it's made this bottle, which is not bad. Okay. So it's pretty good, actually. It kind of captures it. So then let's just have a look at the next one. So for trio stack, if I just get the normal one, there we go. Trio stack has 3 images, and I've chosen different ones on purpose. So we've got the image we used for the last example, the same anime girl from the first example, and then we've got this, which is Bruegel, the peasant dance. So just put a classical piece of artwork in there from like 300 years ago or something. All right. And then what do we do? It's the same as before, only this time, this is what I was talking about. So let's bring it up. So as you can see, it's the same thing as before. We're going into the encoder with the image. I've actually reduced the weight to 0.6. I don't know if that had much of an effect, because I think this weight here has more effect over on the embeds. But like I said, need to do more testing. Anyway, our 3 images go into the encoders, and then I have IP adapter combine embeds for positive and for negative, and it's concatenating them. There are other methods available, right? And so what we'll do is we'll take whatever positive embed from each into there, and then from each into there, and then you pipe the combined embeds from all of your stuff into here and the negative into here. It is possible to save them, but I haven't experimented with that yet enough to say much about it. I need to actually do more with it. I know it works, but I need to know exactly how it behaves before I go advising anyone on it. So, all right. And like I say, you go from here straight in. Now, what I was talking about before on the encoder, is it on the encoder? No. It must have been this embed scaling. Yeah, because it was V only is the standard, but I like the detail from this one. I'm guessing it varies depending on what you're doing. So it's not going to be like, oh, this is the best one. I think it will be situational, and you'll have to learn whether, just try them all and see which one looks best for what you're working on. And that gives us a lovely test bottle. And like I said, the cork is really nice quality. The glass is a really nice quality. Everything here looks great. The label, you can almost see some kind of Asian, I don't know, scribble text on the label, which is pretty cool. And then obviously it's doing this thing here, which is what it was doing before. And this is really cool. Like I said, I like this. I like this a lot. Let's take a look at what it's going to do if we set these to 1. So we had it on 0.6 before. I don't think I've got the seed fixed. So yeah, it's on randomize. So it's not going to be a like for like comparison. Yeah, see, I think that 1.0 actually gives it, I think it's going to be hard to tell. Do you know what? The way to know for sure is obviously you just set this one to fixed. And then we'll put it back to 0.6. And what we would look for is if there's any visual difference when it changes over. So let's do that. We'll do 1. And then to be sure, 1, 1, because there might have been a different seed when I fixed it. Then we'll do another one. So that is the result with 0.6. Now we'll run it again to get the result with 1.0. And this is the sort of thing that you would just like investigate slowly in your own time. All of these things can be changed. It might be that using a different sampler for the final step is going to be better. I don't know. So if we just go next, yeah, there is a bit of difference there actually. So, I mean, it's not like, oh, do you know what? Actually, 0.6 is a lot crisper. I mean, I do like the detail here. I don't know. I think, it's really difficult. It's sort of like, you see this here, the vegetation and the sky, that seems a little bit better, as does the glass. But when we look at this one, it's just got, there's more detail here. There's these chain things coming off, and you can see the surface for the top of the liquid, which makes it look a little bit more like whatever we're looking at is actually inside the bottle. Whereas when we go in this, it's just filled to the top, which isn't bad because there's a diffraction on the cork, indicating there's some fluid in there. But it's kind of like swings and roundabouts, which one do you prefer? I mean, this one looks a bit more realistic, but the sky is definitely a bit overcooked. So I'm thinking 0.6 is probably better. But again, sometimes you're just making it up in your head, so I wouldn't get too carried away with stuff like that. Just see what you got, and do your best with what you got to work with. Okay, so we've taken a quick look now at the Trio stack. So now what I'm going to do is show you Trio Magic HD Plus, which is going to be the whole thing. Obviously, there are variants, including everything. Wait a minute. Yeah, right. So Magic HD Plus, so it's the actual magic part is here. This is pretty simple to understand. So there's a primitive, which is your positive prompt. Currently, that is the pre-trained token for the Lora I'm loading, right? This is one of the captions from that data set. That's driving magic prompt. and auto negative prompt, there's 2 words in auto negative that are always going to be there. Set to SDXL, enhance -1 insanity level 3. We've got show text with Python GOS. You don't need this module here. It's just so that you can see what it's actually generated. So as you can see with this one, and they're obviously seed driven. So we can set it to fixed, and then that will stop it from just changing every single time. I don't know why we've got Tomboy there. But anyway, the point is, it's going to automatically add tokens which should be somewhat related to. So that's the idea anyway. So that's all that's doing, right? It's going to feed into the clip text encodes for negative and positive. So that's what's going on there. As for the IP adapter embeds, it's just like I said before. We come in off the checkpoint, load the Lora, go into the unified IP adapter, and then that goes into embeds and the encoder for each image. Now, if you had multiple images, like in Stack, then we would use the embed combine, which we showed off in Stack just now. So we're only using 1 input for this one, so we don't need to. The model then goes into the various K-samplers. There's 3 of them in Trio, because that's the sort of trick we're using to get a bit more detail. Down here, I've got sort of, got my aspect size. If you right click this and convert to widget, and then delete my aspect size, you don't really need it. I just find it much easier than actually calculating safe values in my head all the time. I've also put in primitives for the sampler, scheduler, steps, and CFG, and then we've also got individual controls for the denoise on each of the K-samplers in the latent stages. All right. And then I just muted these here. So they've got previews if you want to see them, but they're muted by default. Then finally, we get into the impact packs, Pixel K, sample upscaler provider. The only things I've changed from default, the denoise is 0.3 and tile size is 320. I'm using foolhardy remicry. And then what I've done is I've used less upscale with more steps so that it gives it the chance in geometric mode to build in some more detail. See, what I'm interested in is additional pixel depth. I don't even care if it's random, because the kind of stuff I'm interested in, I just want there to be a rich image. Sometimes the images are too simple. And that's something which I try to address with my style models anyway. All right. So then we get the original versus the upscale. So let's just run one of these and see what we get. So this should be a Dune Goon style. So this is Dune Goon. Okay, come on, scroll in. My mouse wheel's failing me. Dune Goon. All right. And we've fed that into the style transfer with my Assassin Carb model. We get an image like this, which is pretty good. But once it does the detail, usually it'll add a little bit more. Just when you zoom in, you'll see there's just more details in the image. It should be pretty close to the original. Sometimes it will fix up fingers for you. Sometimes it will fix the face. It doesn't always make it better. But when it only took a minute, I'm not too bothered. So let's have a quick look. Right, so yes, we've got better hands, better grip on the weapon. The weapon is more well-defined. The skulls in his hips are more well-formed. Looks like we've got better, just better definition on these spikes. The helmet is a lot better. Like if I just, come on, scroll in, that's quite mottly when you sort of scroll in on it. Whereas this one, you can see it pretty clearly, actually, just looking at it like that. That is much more detailed. Obviously, if we scroll, eventually it'll just turn into pixels, but I'm not bothered about that. I'm looking at one-to-one, what does it look like? And this is pretty good. Okay, now it is a painted style. We get this cool paint smudged effect, which is nice. All right. So that's I think that's all of them. So just to recap, if you were to take, for example, Trio Stack HD Plus and drop that one in, what you're going to get is Trio Stack, but it will have the magic prompt built in and it will have the upscaler built in. So they're pretty much variations on the original set of 4. Okay. And then it's just already set up for you to see, and you can see it all working, and that's nice. Let's just make another one here. This should be a bottle, and we're using Doom Goon. We're using one of my old TV forest style images and one of a friend of mine's images here. Okay, so the first image we got was this, which is very nice. I like that. Don't know why we're still getting watermarks, but it's not like a big deal these days. Watermarks don't matter anymore. And they're fake anyway. So then we should get the final image. So there you have it. And if I zoom in on it, it's going to be quite a rich image. Very nice. Very nice. Right then. So that is the current pack. There's 9 workflows. Go ahead and use them. There are other features in the IP adapter, and it does work with other models as well, but okay, so like I said, you can get the workflow pack over on my Civit. The link will be in the description. Next time, we'll probably take a look at something else. We're definitely going to look at other features in the new IP adapter, but we're going to split them up because there's so much of it. All right, so I'll see you next time.